Beneath the waves where sunlight fades away there is a world most people never think about. A world of silent giants and invisible wars that have been raging for decades. Welcome to the secret spy wars beneath the ocean. Imagine a single cable stretching across the Atlantic Ocean longer than any bridge you've ever driven on. And buried deep beneath the seabed, these undersea cables carry over 95% of global internet traffic, making them the digital arteries of the world. Now imagine that these arteries are prime targets in a high-stakes game of espionage and sabotage. Nations spend billions making sure these cables are secure while also finding ways to tap into them without anyone noticing. The story really kicks off in the Cold War, the 1960s and 70s, when the United States and the Soviet Union realized that controlling information under the ocean was just as important as controlling land or air. In 1958, the United States launched a top-secret program called Operation Ivy Bells. The goal was simple: tap Soviet undersea communication lines without the Soviets knowing. The challenge simple: the Soviets laid these cables in the Bering Strait under 70 feet of icy water. A team of Navy divers and intelligence officers spent months planning a mission that was part spy thriller, part deep-sea adventure. They developed special submersibles and cutting-edge technology to find the cables. Once they found them, the divers drilled into the cables and installed wiretap devices that transmitted Soviet military communications back to the United States using a specially designed buoy that could float near the surface and pick up the signals. For years the Soviets had no idea that their secrets were leaking through the cold dark waters, and the intelligence gathered influenced key U.S. defense strategies during the height of the Cold War. But it wasn't just the Americans. The Soviets were conducting their own undersea spy operations, trying to locate and monitor Western communication lines. They even built submarines capable of tapping cables undetected. Tapping an undersea cable is no easy feat. Imagine trying to thread a needle at the bottom of a swimming pool while wearing scuba gear in near-freezing water with strong currents pushing you around. And the technology had to be reliable. The devices had to withstand extreme pressure, sometimes deeper than the tallest mountains under the sea, and remain undetectable for months or even years. The stakes are huge. The loss of a single undersea cable could cut off entire regions from the internet. Telecommunications could fail, stock markets could crash, and military communications could be compromised. Even today the game continues. Nations like the United States, China, Russia and the United Kingdom are constantly surveying the oceans using submarines, underwater drones and sonar mapping to locate, monitor, and protect these critical assets. Some of the most fascinating operations involve the use of autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, which are basically robotic submarines that can patrol the ocean floor for weeks, transmitting data back to their handlers without ever surfacing. In 2013, reports surfaced that China was suspected of sending AUVs to survey undersea cables near Guam and Hawaii, raising alarms about potential espionage or sabotage. But it's not all espionage. Some of these operations are defensive, like the U.S. Navy's SOSUS system, which stands for Sound Surveillance System, installed in the 1950s to track Soviet submarines using arrays of underwater microphones called hydrophones. These hydrophones are like giant underwater ears. They pick up sound waves from submarines moving hundreds of miles away and feed them to computers that analyze the patterns to detect suspicious activity. Interestingly, some of the oldest cables still in operation are over 50 years old. They carry signals at the speed of light using fiber optics, a technology that uses thin strands of glass to transmit data as pulses of light. These cables are so vital that when one fails, even temporarily, it can cause internet slowdowns across entire continents and lead to sudden spikes in latency affecting everything from stock trades to video calls. The ocean itself poses a constant threat. Earthquakes, underwater landslides called submarine landslides, and even sharks have been known to bite through cables, making maintenance a constant challenge. And while satellites get most of the attention for global communications, the reality is undersea cables handle far more data because fiber optics are faster and less prone to interference than radio waves traveling through space. Some experts estimate that a single cable like the Maria cable connecting Spain to the US can carry over 200 terabits of data per second, enough to stream millions of 4K movies simultaneously. The secrecy around these operations is intense even today. Divers and engineers working on these cables often operate under top-secret clearance with identities hidden from the public. One of the most dramatic espionage cases involved a retired NSA operative named Ronald Pelton, who sold information about cable tapping operations to the Soviets in the 1980s. This leak forced the US to completely redesign its undersea intelligence strategy. The undersea spy wars are a blend of cutting-edge science and classic espionage. Spy movies often fall short of capturing the danger and technical skill involved in tapping a cable or detecting a submarine 1,000 meters below the surface. Modern surveillance now includes using AI to detect anomalies in ocean acoustic patterns. For example, a small metallic object dragging along the seabed could trigger an alert to investigate a potential tampering attempt. Another fascinating development is the use of quantum communication undersea. Some countries are experimenting with transmitting quantum bits through fiber optics under the ocean, making eavesdropping nearly impossible. Meanwhile, civilian companies like Google and Facebook are laying thousands of miles of private cables to connect data centers and expand global connectivity. They too face the challenge of protecting these cables from tampering and damage. Interestingly, researchers have found that natural phenomena like deep-sea currents and marine life can affect cable performance, forcing engineers to design smarter cable routes and protective casings. The undersea spy wars are also about psychology. Countries invest in deception, hiding cable routes and using decoys to mislead adversaries, creating a cat-and-mouse game beneath the waves. The US once placed dummy cables to confuse Soviet surveillance, while simultaneously monitoring real ones in secret. This level of strategic thinking is something you usually only read about in novels. Even environmental concerns come into play. Engineers have to consider the impact of cables on marine life, especially sensitive ecosystems near coral reefs and deep-sea vents. Despite all the secrecy and sophistication, it's fascinating to think that the backbone of the modern digital world rests in a fragile, hidden network that spans oceans and is constantly monitored by unseen operatives. In recent years, some experts have speculated about cyber sabotage targeting these cables as a new front in international conflict. A digital Cold War where control of undersea infrastructure could shift geopolitical power. The oceans themselves remain largely unexplored, with over 80% still unmapped. And many spy operations rely on this vast unknown, using stealth technology to remain invisible to satellites and sonar. The intersection of physics, engineering, geopolitics and espionage makes this field unique. It's part science fiction, part reality, with humans pushing the limits of what is possible under extreme conditions. What's even more intriguing is how history repeats itself. Operations like Ivy Bell set the stage for modern tactics, showing that innovation often comes from necessity and extreme challenge. The story of the undersea spy wars also reminds us that the things we take for granted, like sending an email or streaming a video, are possible because of a hidden layer of human ingenuity and risk management. Every mission requires careful planning, with engineers calculating currents, pressures, cable depths, and the risk of detection, with the precision of a chess master planning 10 moves ahead. Submarines like the Russian Oscar class or the US Seawolf class were not just military tools, but also mobile platforms for undersea intelligence gathering, demonstrating the dual use of technology in war and espionage. Sometimes the spy wars take unexpected turns, like when a cable tap was discovered by a curious marine biologist or a malfunctioning sensor exposed a covert operation, forcing quick improvisation. The tension is palpable. These are high-stakes operations with potential consequences, ranging from diplomatic crises to economic disruption if a cable is damaged or tapped improperly. Training for undersea operations is intense. Divers practice in hyperbaric chambers to simulate deep-sea pressure and rehearse emergency procedures that could mean the difference between life and death. The undersea spy wars have inspired novels, documentaries, and even blockbuster movies. But the reality is far more complex and dangerous, with real people risking their lives beneath crushing pressure and freezing temperatures. It's not just about tapping cables or listening in. It's about the constant evolution of technology, staying ahead of adversaries and making sure vital communication networks remain secure. The undersea world is a silent battlefield, where nations wage invisible wars that most people will never see or even realize exist. So the next time you send a text across the ocean or join a video call, remember there's an unseen struggle making it all possible, an epic saga of ingenuity, courage and secrecy happening deep below the waves. The secret spy wars beneath the ocean are a reminder that the most critical battles are often fought where we least expect, in the dark, cold depths where only a few dare to tread. It's a story of innovation, daring, and intelligence that shapes our modern world, while remaining mostly hidden from view. A real-life spy thriller written in water, steel, and light. And the next time you think of the ocean, remember, it's not just fish and waves, it's submarines, cables, and spies playing a high-stakes game with the fate of nations. If you enjoyed this dive into the secret spy wars, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because the ocean has many more secrets waiting to be uncovered. So stay curious, because beneath the surface of the ocean lies a world of espionage, danger, and technology that shapes our lives in ways most people will never see or imagine. Are you ready to explore the next hidden frontier with us? Because the ocean is just getting started and the spy wars are far from over. The waves may look peaceful, but underneath lies a silent conflict that has been shaping history since the Cold War and will continue to do so for decades to come. And remember, every ping, every cable, and every deep-sea mission tells a story of human ingenuity, risk, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge in the most extreme conditions on Earth. The ocean is a stage, the submarines are actors, the cables are lines in a script. And we are just starting to understand the plot that unfolds beneath the waves. So if you want more stories where science meets espionage and reality is stranger than fiction, make sure to join us for the next deep dive into the hidden world beneath the surface. The secret spy wars beneath the ocean are not just history, they are happening right now. With new technology, new missions, and new risks reshaping how nations communicate and protect their secrets. And as we map more of the ocean floor and develop smarter AI-driven surveillance, the cat-and-mouse game between nations will only get more sophisticated and more fascinating. So the next time you glance at the ocean, remember, it's not just water, it's a high-tech battlefield where the stakes are as high as anywhere on land or in the sky. Subscribe now and join us as we continue to uncover the hidden stories that shape our modern world. Because the ocean has many more secrets to reveal and you won't want to miss a single one.